It's my great pleasure to have been responsible for organizing this event. So you're attending the info session hosted by the Faculty of English, Linguistics and Literature, University of Social Sciences and Humanities, Vietnam National University, Ho Chi Minh City, in collaboration with the University of Glasgow in the UK. And the info session is aimed at giving you information about postgraduate studies at the University of Glasgow, with concentration on the field of English linguistics. And in today's session, we hope that you'll be getting a lot of valuable insights into postgraduate study opportunities, scholarships when studying at the University of Glasgow. And our presenters will be answering all of your queries and questions or any concerns that you may have. Before we begin, please allow me to walk you through our presenters' biodata. Our first presenter, Dr. Angela Gayton. Dr. Angela Gayton is a lecturer in applied linguistics and education, and she is the convener of postgraduate studies in English language and linguistics at the University of Glasgow. Her research interests include language issues within the internationalization of higher education, language learning motivation, specifically in Anglophone contexts, issues of identity in the language classroom, perceptions of English as a global language, and teacher education, the theory-practice nexus. Then our second presenter, Dr. Piotr Wekorowski. Dr. Piotr Wekorowski, yes, he's there. He's a lecturer in applied linguistics and is the program convener of the MSc Applied Linguistics at the University of Glasgow. His research includes professional and institutional discourse, particularly in the context of policing and digital forensic science. However, he has also investigated educational contexts as well. He tends to adopt a linguistic and ethnographic perspective in his research. And our third presenter, Professor Tom Ballett. Yeah. Tom Ballett is interested in language as a social phenomenon, from the functional description of structure to linguistic ethnography and critical analysis. He specializes in systemic functional linguistics and critical discourse analysis, with a particular focus on functional descriptions of Scottish Gaelic at one end of the scale and the discourses of sustainability and community management at the other. And without further ado, let's give a big hand to our presenters, and we hope that you have a great time getting valuable insights from our presenters.
Thank you so much, Laurie. I'm going to start the presentation and I'll share my screen just now. I see that Piotr has put in the chat that you're very welcome to add any questions that you have in the chat as we're presenting, and then there will be time for Q&A at the end as well. Okay. So I'm hoping everyone can see my screen. Yes, I'll take that as a yes. Okay.
It's working, yeah.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Piotr. So it's lovely to have you all here today. I think this is a fantastic turnout, and we're really excited to be talking to you about postgraduate study at the University of Glasgow. So Laurie has introduced us, and these are the people that are going to be talking to you today, myself, Piotr and Tom, and we also have a special guest, someone that you might know well, who has studied with us 6 years ago, I think it is now, in the very first iteration of our MSc Applied Linguistics program. So you'll hear some things from the student perspective as well. So as Laurie has said, this is us. I'm the postgraduate convener in the subject area. Tom is the head of our subject, and Piotr is the program convener from Applied Linguistics. And of course, this is just the three of us today, but we are presenting on behalf of all of our colleagues in English language and linguistics who represent a breadth of different specialisms. So today we're going to be giving you some detail about 3 different programs that we offer at postgraduate level at the University of Glasgow. So we've got the MSc in English language and linguistics, the MSc in Applied Linguistics, and the MSc in Speech, Language and Sociolinguistics. And we'll give you a little bit of information about each of these. So first of all, I want to hand it over to you and ask if you can put in the chat how would you define the term applied linguistics? What do you understand by this term applied linguistics? And if you would like to add as well, what is your own interest in applied linguistics? I'll give everyone 30 seconds or a minute or so just to put any ideas that they have in the chat. How would you define applied linguistics and what's your own interest in it? Piotr, I can't see the chat while I'm sharing the screen, so maybe if there are any good responses, if you could read them out for me.
Will do, yeah.
Perfect. And any ideas are welcome. Piotr, was there anything in the chat?
I was just going to say that's a great first opening answer. Applied linguistics is about incorporating linguistics in solving problems in our life.
I like that. That's very good.
Practical applications of language, such as language teaching, translation, speech therapy.
Well, I think those are two excellent definitions to get us started. I think people are really on the right track. And maybe in terms of your own interest in applied linguistics, we can cover these a little bit in the Q&A at the end of today's session. But as Piotr says, I think those are great understandings. So just as a summary definition, the way that we would define applied linguistics at Glasgow, we would say that it's a range of topics and interests starting from education, sure, but through to applications in other areas such as communicating sustainability, language and professional context, and language and identity. So the really important thing to take away is that we define applied linguistics as a very, very broad area of study with lots of different specialisms within it. So thank you very much for the people who shared their understandings too. So a little bit more about postgraduate study at the University of Glasgow then. So all three of our programs in our subject area offer a supportive environment to develop critical thinking skills. I think that's really, really fundamental for postgraduate study. Confidence in engaging with and questioning, asking questions about the research that we're reading and the research that we're doing as well. And also developing a sense of belonging in the wider research community. So starting off with your postgraduate studies with a sense of where you fit in the wider research community as an early stage researcher. So in these programs, we build on your existing knowledge to develop research skills, and this all finalizes in an independent research project, so your dissertation project towards the end of your postgraduate studies. And we'll talk about this a little bit more in detail later. So you might be asking the question, well, why Glasgow? What makes Glasgow special compared to any other place that I could do my postgraduate study? So at the University of Glasgow, we have world-class expertise in a range of subjects within English language and linguistics. So everything from Old English and Old Scots to our different specialisms in applied linguistics, which we'll say a little bit more about in a second. We think our programs are fantastic for employability or preparing for further study. So some of you might have goals to do a PhD at a later stage, and we think that our programs prepare you really well to do that. And I think what makes us really special is that our department, the University of Glasgow, is developing a very close working relationship with your university. So we're looking at all sorts of things that we can develop in partnership with your university to develop these connections. And I think that's something that makes us really special. So a little bit about the way that teaching and learning looks in our department at Glasgow. So it might be different to some of the teaching and learning that you've experienced previously in your undergraduate studies. So a lot of what we do at postgraduate level is interactive small group seminars. So it might be groups of students from anywhere from 5 students to 20 students working together in small groups to develop their understanding of the complex content. So asking questions of each other, talking together, working together on activities to participate to develop a shared understanding. Towards the end of your postgraduate studies, there will be one-to-one dissertation supervision. So this usually runs between early May and August, and you'll work with your allocated supervisor and they will support you through the process of developing and carrying out and writing up your independent research. All the way through the academic year, we all have staff drop-in hours. So we have a designated hour once a week where we love for students to come to our office and talk to us about how their studies are going, how their experiences of the postgraduate program is going, any questions that they have, any concerns that they have. And we really encourage students to use these office hours because what we have found since we have been working at the University of Glasgow on these programs for 6 years now, we find that the students who are proactive in taking up these office hours are the students that tend to do better in their studies. So it's a really important part of your learning. And overall, what we have is a really strong focus on research-led teaching. So using our research, and we'll say a little bit more about this now, our own research to inform the teaching that we do with our master's students. So in terms of this research-led teaching, from the word go, so from the first week in September when you start your studies, we're encouraging students to think like researchers. So this is something, again, that might be a little bit different from undergraduate study, from your experiences of that. So we're always encouraging students and giving them the skills and the tools to be able to critically reflect on methodological approaches in research all the way through the masters. We're supporting students in receiving intensive research training specific to the field of linguistics. So in semester 1 and in semester 2, you will do subject-specific research training that gives you all of the skills that you need to go on and do your own research. And we encourage students to think about their research interests as they evolve. So a lot of our students, I think it's quite typical that they'll start the masters with some sort of idea about what topics and what questions in applied linguistics they're really interested in. And we help students to develop these ideas over the course of the master's program to inform, again, their dissertation research that they'll do in the summer months. So for me, a little bit about my research-led teaching. And again, I'm grateful to Larry for his introduction because he said a little bit about my research interests already. So my research interests in the field of language education, broadly speaking, really inform the content of the lectures and the seminars that I give and the kinds of activities that are carried out in class. So there are 2 main courses that I run as part of the postgraduate programs. So it's social and individual variables in language learning. And this first course is really informed by my expertise in different aspects of second language acquisition. So language learning motivation, different aspects of multilingual identity in language learning as well. And the second course that I teach is language and the global campus. And that's really informed by the internationalization of higher education and my work that I have done in that particular field. And it's in these topics that I supervise students for their dissertations as well. And Piotr, would you like to say a little bit about your research and how it informs your teaching as well?
Absolutely, yes. So as I was introduced, I'm mostly interested in professional and institutional context, particularly in the area of law and law enforcement. So for example, in my multilingualism course, which I run, I've actually been exploring a small research project I've been running, which has been really useful for students. I've been looking at how people can claim discrimination on the basis of language in employment, looking at some employment tribunal decisions. And it's been really interesting because it's been really helpful for me to see what the students think in terms of the kind of raw data and ideas that I'm just working through. So I think that's a useful experience for everyone, both for me and the students. I learned something from the students as well. And I'm currently working on a project looking at how digital forensic scientists communicate with different stakeholders, and that's something that's going to inform my course design next year.
Amazing. Thanks, Piotr. Really exciting stuff, I think. And Tom, would you like to share as well a little bit of your research and how it informs your teaching?
Yes, I would indeed. So in my two different fields, so I'm a specialist in a theory of linguistics called systemic functional linguistics. And I presented on this when we were there in October 2023, and I was amazed how well students in the university, from your university, understood the concepts here and were interested in some of the ideas about this. And this is describing language or thinking about language description, not in terms of grammar for language teaching so much, but thinking about grammar as getting things done and doing things in functional terms, and how we can describe the grammars of different languages in these terms and how we can apply them. Very much interested in that answer that was about incorporating linguistics in solving problems in our life from Trang Ngoc Hui. That was fantastic, and I think that has two sides to it. You need a theory of language or a description of language that you can apply, what we call an applicable linguistics. And systemic functional linguistics provides that. And I'm particularly interested in looking at the language that of the community my father came from, but also looking at maybe describing other languages in these terms. And the Vietnamese hasn't had any work done, or had very little. So that's one area. But it's also can be used very practically. It's used very much in education, looking at how to talk about languages used in the classroom and students' essays and to give better feedback to help people more. So systemic functional linguistics, but the other side of incorporating linguistics into solving problems is that where you apply it, and this is where critical approaches to language and communication comes in. And we look at how language is incorporated. I just love that so much. Language doesn't provide the solutions. We don't just look at the text and do linguistic analysis, or we can't have solutions from linguistic analysis alone, but we can incorporate it alongside other areas of research, politics, psychology, journalism, media studies, and use our linguistic knowledge to think about some of the most pressing problems that we face today. And in particular, to me, that would be how we communicate with each other about issues in environment, global warming, climate change, and sustainability is my particular area of focus. So that's how my two courses link up. I have to say that I'm actually going to be in research leave this coming year, so those two courses won't be taught. But if this is what anyone's particularly interested in, then the following year that might be of interest as well.
Thank you so much, Tom. That's wonderful. So what we wanted to do was give you a sense of the kinds of research topics that we're passionate about and how this is constantly feeding into our teaching. So you're really getting the benefit of the expertise that we've developed in our fields and how we use this in our classes, in our everyday teaching. So I'm going to pass over. I said that we had a special guest as well, and we're delighted that we're joined by Loc Din, who I think many of you will know. Loc was one of our first students. So in 2019-2020, in that academic year, he was part of our first cohort on the MSc Applied Linguistics, one of our brilliant students from that year. And we've asked him today to say a few words about some different aspects of postgraduate studies. So the first thing, Loc, I'd like to pass over to you. And I'd like you to say a few words about your own experiences of the research-led teaching at the University of Glasgow. So your own experiences of how our research informs what we do and how we teach. So Loc.
Thank you very much, Professor.
Hi.
Yeah, everyone. So it is a pleasure to be here today. Well, I really enjoy the research-led teachings. It's like as you say that from the first day we enter, we know what each of the teachers is gonna work with their strengths, and then we can find who suits us the most. And then during the course, the teachers will give you some topics, or you can think about a topic because you know the field of research is easier for you. They also provide you with the latest methodology and the latest trends in the research that keep you quite updated. I remember in some course with Professor Angela, you always give the published articles from other researchers. Yeah. Then we try to analyze for each topic. We see their strengths and their weakness, and then we can learn from that. And that's how we shape our own research in the future. I mean, we have the course of research methodology, but that's not enough because the short is quite short. We have only 1 year. So with style of teachings, I think we can learn and then we apply what we learned at the same time. Yes, it's very useful. Yeah. It helps us to bridge the gap between the theories and the practice because we learned and then we apply. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Locke. And I love what you said there about the connections between the option courses that you can take. So this is where students get the chance to choose the particular things that they want to study in their masters, and also the core course of the research training. And you're absolutely right, Locke, that those things all work together, don't they?
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you. And Tom, I'm going to pass over to you to say a little bit more about the specifics of the courses for each of the programs.
Okay, so hi again, everyone. So we've got 3 master's programs that we offered, and one of the questions that people have asked us is, what's the difference between an MSc and an MA? Its answer is very simple. In Scotland, your master's degree is called an MSc for historical reasons. So an MSc in Scotland is the same as an MA in England. And other places in the world. So if this is a normal master's degree, we offer 3 different programs, English language and linguistics, which is our most general program. And then we have the 2 slightly more specialist programs, which is the applied linguistics and speech language and social linguistics. So do you want to go back to the first one, and I'll go through the structure quickly? So for I would say every institution in the UK that offers a master's offers a research training course, because this is to help people navigate the difference between undergraduate degree and master's degree. And I think Locke would tell you it's a very exciting change, but also a very scary change, because it's a very different way of working. And so we have to prepare you for this big challenge. But it's wonderful because you're with lots of people on a course who want to do master's degree, who are studying next. They really want to study and are interested in learning. And it's a very great year for people to get to know each other. But we offer the research training course focusing on linguistics, not just general stuff, but actually focusing on stuff that will be useful for you in linguistics. Then that counts as an option in the first semester. So then for the rest of the time in that general degree, the English language and linguistics degree, you can choose any 5 options from our list of options that are available that year. And as with all our master's programs, you end up with independent research guided by a supervisor. It's halfway between your own work and still getting a lot of input from a supervisor, but it's a topic you choose that's of interest to you and that you want to work on, and that counts for 33% of the marks. Yes, I think they're all they're equal weighting. Okay, so dissertation, very important, but if you're planning to do a PhD, dissertation is useful, but also if you want to go into teaching or other fields, it gives you a chance to explore some topic in depth. So moving on to the next 2, applied linguistics has the same structure roughly, apart from the fact we have a second compulsory or core module, which is called Applying Linguistics in Social and Professional Life. And I think the title captures what it does, but it links back to the 2 answers from Trang Ngoc Hui and from Mai Vo Xuan on what applied linguistics is about. This is to make you think like applied linguists. How do you use your linguistic skills? How do you incorporate them to solve problems or improve practices, or to help contribute to teaching practice, political practice, thinking about communication between different groups? So we look at all the different areas where linguistics is applied, and we also give you an overview of some of the most common methods that are used within applied linguistics. So that's for a very specialist course, not just linguistics, but what it means to be applied linguistics, to help you think about that and to get into that mentality of what applied linguistics research means. Then after that, you have 2 choices, 2 option courses, 2 in option semester 1 and a further 2 in semester 2. So still a lot of choice of stuff you could do there. The third master's program we offer is more specialist, and this is for people doing phonetics and phonology and things like that. And we have had a fantastic student from Vietnam who did this area and went on to win a prize nationally for her master's dissertation. So this is really if you want to specialize in phonetics and phonology, and because of that, it's a lot more technical in the use of lab equipment, laboratory equipment and things like that, and statistical data is necessary. So it's a much more structured course. Again, it has research training course, the general research training course, but then there is a specialist course in data analysis, statistical analysis of data. And then you also have to take some extra courses in either phonology or sociolinguistics, and you choose which ones, but you have to take a mixture. And then you go on to do the dissertation. So you can see we've got the basic core elements of the English language and linguistics masters. The applied linguistics add that specialist element about thinking like an applied linguist. What does it mean? And then the speech language and social linguistics is a little bit more specialist, training you up very specifically in this area. And a lot of students from that degree go on to do PhDs as well, but not entirely, but a lot of people do. So, okay. So here's some of our more common options, just as every year we'll tell you what is available in the coming year. It depends if staff are on research leave or on maternity leave or something. But some of the more interesting ones, Social and Individual Variables in Language Learning and Teaching by Angela. That teaches you how to research about education. Who learns languages better? Is it better to learn, young or old? What is motivation? What makes students motivated? What makes teachers motivated? How that affects your teaching. So that's Angela's specialism. Multilingualism. Some places teach multilingualism from a very psycholinguistic point of view about how they think multilingualism or bilingualism work in the brain. But Piotr teaches this from a much more social aspect. What are the consequences of a multilingualism? How does multilingualism affect the way people interact? And, stuff like that. So a much more social approach than other programs would offer. Forensic linguistics, again, Piotr, and that is, again, different from other approaches to social forensic linguistics. Piotr will look at all aspects of how language is used within the law. It can be used from forensic fingerprinting to how judges talk about cases when they are finishing a case. So anything that is language and the law. Love, Death and Dragons. This is one of our medieval linguistics topics, but instead of it shows the relevance, how a lot of stories that in the UK are maybe 500-600 years old, that how they've been adapted to modern screens, as in Game of Thrones, for example, but how some of these stories, they're still there, they're sort of themes and ideas that are still very relevant to the modern day. Sociolinguistics is, we offer that as both qualitative and quantitative. So quantitative sociolinguistics, you will look at the way different people speak in different situations, or from how different people learners from different languages, what difficulties and what successes they have when they're learning a new language, and doing experiments with that. So that's very empirical or experiment based. Then we have another side which is qualitative, which looks at just how language and social issues and social life interact, and looking at texts and things in fine detail rather than corpus and big data. Corpus linguistics is a very methodological course. So many people use corpus methods in one way or another in their degrees. It helps you to gather large bodies of data. Locke did it with his collecting a lot of newspaper data for his dissertation, how you collect that data, how you make your own corpus, and then how you analyze it, how you label elements and how you analyze elements to give you the big picture behind certain stories, or historical trends in linguistics and that, using big data. Semantics of English is a very traditional course where we look at meaning within English language and talk about all aspects of meaning and semantics, from words through to pragmatics and discourse as well. And then we've got very specialist ones for the UK, Old English and Old Scots, and we look at the grammar of these languages and the literature of Old English and Old Scots. And the last one, which when I was visiting Vietnam, when we were visiting Vietnam in October 2023, we were amazed. So many people asked us questions about this. And onomastics is the study of place names and people's names, all sorts of names. And we were amazed that so many people were interested in that, and also knew Carol Huff, Professor Carol Huff, who is Professor of Onomastics, and had heard of her and her work. So that's when we can get to study claims and what they tell us about culture and society, as well as what they tell us about individual places. So you can see there's a very broad range of topics you can bring in here that you study. You learn the method, you learn the theory, but then you also think about how you would apply these, how would you use these, how you would write up about these. There are others, and we'd be very happy to talk about any other options that you might have seen or think about when you have questions at the end.
So Locke, we would love to pass over to you again, and could you say a little bit about the option courses that you chose and why you chose the ones that you did?
Okay, yes. So can you go back to the previous slide so that
Yeah,
students can... I think the first course I talk about is not on this slide. It is critical approaches to language and communications, because it's not optional. Yeah. It's not optional, right? I think this is a really amazing course. Like it provides you with multiple theories about language methodologies in linguistics, and then you have the skill to read critically and to analyze the text. I mean, that's really amazing. Like when you learn that English is no longer like normal grammar you learn in school or for the reading passages and then answer the questions. Language is more than that. I remember I do some research about analyzing the speeches of the US president and how they use language, how they use different approaches to send a message to persuade the readers. And you know, after learning this course, whenever I read newspapers, I change my mind. Don't try to manipulate me. I know what you are doing. Like, so I feel like the course really changed the way you think and changed the way you view the others, the words, the other languages. And then I also took the language and global campus with Professor Angela. It really is amazing that we have a small class, but then students from different backgrounds, and it fits the context that she's teaching us, that how language is used in the process of globalizations, and especially at higher educations. And many of us are teachers from like Chile, Turkey, Scotland, India, and yeah. And then we share our real experience, and then we combine, and then we base on the theory. It's really fun journey. You know, like you know that the world is very, very big, not just like in Vietnam, and then how language is currently teaching around the world. And then you have real people and they show you and they share with you what's going on. And then I also choose the corpus. Yeah, the corpus is like amazing. It's not like how to say, like you use IT in English, but then you try to analyze things and then you view things in a different way. And then the teachers also guide you how to build a corpus and how to use a corpus in a logical way. One of my research I noticed that a corpus linguistic study of love themes in music. Like I compare how people they write the lyrics in music, the change in the word choice. Like in the past, in the 1980s, the common word choice like were sorry, it is like love, waiting, sweet. But then when it's come to the years 2000s, the most common word choice is like war, angry, and freedom. And I think that tells a lot about the way we think on those, not only in music, but in other fields. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Locke. I think it's really interesting to hear how the choices that you've made demonstrate the breadth of specialisms in applied linguistics. So moving from critical approaches to something more education focused, and then something more technical, the corpus linguistics. And I think that all of those had a role in informing the dissertation work that you did, if memory serves.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's excellent. Thank you so much. And I'll pass back to you, Tom, just for a final word about the dissertation research that students undertake.
You're on mute, Tom.
Sorry, I was on mute. It was interesting there that Locke talked about the courses he chose and that 2 of them aren't available next year. And it's important that you know that. But also, they will, Global Campus and Critical Approaches to Language Communication will be available the following year. It's just to do with research leave. So if you're specifically interested in those, we're still offering them, but you might want to wait a year. But what Angela said at the end there, I thought was really interesting, in that she said that Locke used several of his courses in designing his dissertation. We don't expect your dissertation to be just connected to one course. Of course, it will be primarily connected to one course, but it will draw on all the things you've learned while you're in Glasgow over that year. And for that reason, we don't want you to choose your final topic until you've had all your taught courses. So you're always learning, always thinking, always having new ideas about what to put in your dissertation. So you'll spend the summer designing and carrying that out. It's very important to say that this is shaped by your own passions and interests. We don't tell you what you have to write about. We'll help you make sure that you've got a good idea, but you bring what you come with us with an idea of what you want to research, what really interests you. And Locke was a great example of that. And we'll help you decide what methods you can use. So here's some ones we've had in the past. Examining academic English support in English language university education in Vietnam. So that's obviously something very relevant. Some of you might want to look at how do we support people in Vietnam specifically with learning English, and that depends. And that's not the same as it would be in another country for different reasons. So you're getting away with very specialist knowledge, and that would bring in some of the ideas of the global campus, some of the ideas from Angela's individual variables class, but maybe also some of the stuff from phonetics and phonology, if that's one of the things that people need support in. So you bring your skills together. The production of English vowels by Vietnamese learners, well, there we are. That brings together the English language teaching, but also the very specialist training and research you can do within phonetics and phonology. And then one that I supervised was public apologies from Hollywood superstars. This was Hollywood superstars who had been accused, if you know about the Me Too campaign, which was to do with sexual harassment. And this was different Hollywood stars who had been accused of this, and how they wrote what they called apologies, and looking at the differences between them and whether they really counted as apologies or not, and seeing if the public accepted they were apologies or not, and trying to work out what it was about the apologies that made people accept them or not. What Locke was saying about the way he reads the newspapers now and says, you're trying to persuade me, I'm not going to fall for that. Well, maybe some of these apologies weren't really apologies, and you were able to see that by looking at the language. So very varied. You can see there three very, very different dissertations, but every year we get a wide range of dissertations reflecting different skills, but also different passions and interests of students, that we want them to work in areas that really interest them.
Yeah. Can I just add to that, Tom, as well, that these 3 dissertations that we've highlighted here were all by Vietnamese students that we've had over the last few years.
Of course, sorry.
Also, no, I want to emphasize as well just what high quality pieces of work they were. They were absolutely exceptional pieces of independent research. So this is why we're so excited at the prospect of having more students from Vietnam come to our programs. And again, we want to pass over to Locke to say a little bit more, Locke, about your experiences of doing the dissertation at the University of Glasgow. Would you like to say a little bit about the topic, and maybe a bit more about how your option courses informed it as well?
I did my dissertations during COVID time, so there were a lot of challenges, but luckily with the support of the staff and everyone, I think I successfully passed this challenge. I mean, at first when we studied with Professor Tom, he invited some like activists, the local activists, and then they come to our class and then introduce a project, which is really promising. And I also registered to work with them to do my dissertations, but because of COVID, things changed, so I moved to do another topic. But then, although we cannot meet face to face, I still meet my professors very frequently, like 7, 8, and 9 times. I think that's a lot. Yeah. And for short meeting. So because you have not very many students, so the teachers, they know well what you are doing every day, and he even remember what I did, what I said the previous meeting. That's very good. And also received support from other professors, like Professor, sorry, I forgot his name, who taught me the corpus linguistic. I remember he was on his holiday, and then he still replied me multiple times, give me insightful recommendations for my research. That's really helpful. I think in this environment, like where you receive multiple support from the teachers and then from other staff, it is easy to do the dissertations. Although I cannot deny that there are many challenges in doing the research, but yes, I really enjoy that. Especially like with the student account, you can access to the library or the online sources, and then you can read almost all the published journals. That's really helpful for us.
Excellent. And can you just give a really short summary, Locke, the particular focus of your dissertation? Just remind us.
Okay, my focus is about like, let me check the full name, right? Oh gosh, I forgot the full name of that, but then give me a second.
That's okay.
Oh, yep. Discuss analysis of Scottish press coverage of about the asylum seeker, about the language the press like portray the asylum communities. By the way, I work with those people. So if I think like that's I told that you learn and then you apply at the same time. You learn and you apply, you learn and you apply.
Yeah. I think that's something that was so interesting about your work, because you had actually had that work experience, hadn't you, Locke, in the Scottish
Yes,
context while you were in Glasgow, and you used that to inform your dissertation work as well. So not only your studies, but also your professional experience.
yes, exactly. And then you can see some relevance between the language that you hear every day, language you read every day, and then the real life problem.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fantastic, Locke. Thank you so much for that. That's brilliant. And I'm going to pass over to Piotr, who's going to talk to us now about becoming part of the research community at the University of Glasgow.
Yes, thank you. So you've heard a lot about all the things you can learn as part of your courses and your independent research project. But obviously, attending a university degree is not just about going to classes and turning up for a few hours here and there and doing the reading. It's much more than this. We really strive to create a wider research community, and we really hope that you'll become a part of this. And in order to do this, we actually organize quite a lot of different events. Some of them are student-led, and we very much encourage everyone to take part to enhance your experience. Not only it's good for your academic development, but it's also a good social opportunity to meet other people and discuss things that you're all interested in. So the kind of things that we offer, for example, are research seminars. We regularly hold research seminars where we invite speakers from all over the world, experts in the discipline, to present research that is current on something that we perhaps don't offer in our area. That's why we ask people to come from other places, although we also present some of our work too as well occasionally. So you get to learn all about the really new and exciting research that's happening in the discipline in various places in the world. We also offer reading groups meetings for students. So this is a space where you can informally discuss some of the readings that you have perhaps chosen, an article that you found and you thought was really interested. You just wanted to talk about maybe a news item, something you just saw in the news, maybe a podcast that you listened to that had relevance to applied linguistics, and you just wanted to discuss it with others. That's the kind of place that you can do this. It's a very nice and informal discussion that you can do. It's not compulsory, you don't have to do this, but it's always beneficial, and we always encourage people to do this. We also have started organizing a small PGT conference. I think some students really don't like the name conference because it sounds very formal, but it is just really another mechanism to support everyone in the dissertation work, because it can be a bit lonely. You work on your own during summer, you meet your supervisor every now and then, but you don't have any classes. That's why we've introduced this event every year around July time that allows everyone to come together and just talk a little bit about what they've been up to and share some of the struggles, which I think is always very useful, where people talk about, you know, the kind of things they've done, the things they still need to do. Everyone always feels a bit behind and they think they've not done enough, which I think is a very common feeling. And it's always really nice just to come together and say, look, I've struggled with this. I couldn't get the data I wanted. I had to change my plan, and sharing those experiences is really, really nice. We also have a thriving linguistics society, LingSoc. It's open to students across the different levels of studies. So you can meet undergraduate students, you can meet some research postgraduate students there as well. And it's all about sharing a passion for language, but it's also very much a social event. So they organize a number of different things. They've had some trips in the past, I think. So sometimes they do those. Sometimes they organize Kaylee's get-togethers, game nights, things like this. So it's film screenings as well. So it's really just an opportunity for you to come together with other students. And I think this is an opportunity to Locke to say a few words about how you felt a part of a wider community at the University of Glasgow. So over to you.
Oh, I feel curious with the students these days, right? They have a lot of options. Yeah, really cool, right? Just add something to that. Yeah, but yes, when I studied at Glasgow, I remember we have reading groups and we read together, like come to the library, and then people like my peers, we come and we share the readings. The teachers give us the text beforehand, and then we try to discuss the issue. Everyone would read together. We spend like 2 or 3 hours together reading and doing analysis, and we come to class, we discuss the issues with the teachers. Sometimes we challenge them. Okay, and Yes, and then I remember my friend Helen. She told me about some like seminar organized at other university, and then we can join that because we are students at Glasgow. We are allowed to join without any fee. Yeah, and I know some of my friends they come to other university to attend those stuff, and even at Glasgow we have some like I forgot the name, some program that you invite speakers to come in to talk to share. Yep, that's it.
That's great. Thanks so much, Locke. It's nice to hear that you always felt part of this community as well. You took part in some activities. As you say, we've actually managed to introduce some more over the course of the last few years. That's brilliant. Thank you. Now, the common question we also get as well is about what you can do with the degree. And I think the first thing to say is that the degree in applied linguistics is not necessarily a vocational degree. That doesn't mean that leads to a specific profession in the sense that once you finish this degree, this is the specific job you'll get. Because you actually get to develop a number of different skills that are transferable to so many different contexts, our graduates end up in many different professions. It can serve as a stepping stone to become a speech therapist, although it does require further training. But this is a first step for some people who want to take that route and go in that direction. We've had quite a lot of graduates who've worked in lexicography, so working with dictionary making, because you are equipped with some of the tools that allow you to do this. A lot of our graduates end up in teaching, so particularly in TEFL and TESOL contexts. That's something that is a very popular option to many students because we really equip you with some of the critical thinking that's very useful in those contexts. But apart from those strictly language and linguistic focused roles, there are also a number of other options that are available to students where language is of central importance, such as in the fields of journalism, advertising, marketing, administration as well sometimes. So anywhere that language plays a central role, because you can demonstrate your awareness of how language works to your advantage, and I think employers really value this. So here are just some examples of the career paths, but they're just examples. They're not the full a complete list. You can really do quite a lot of different things. And I think on that note, yes, I'm going to talk about what we are trying to do to even improve students' employability. It's something that we realized students are concerned about, because obviously you want to know what you'll do after you graduate. And it's something that we've been directing a lot of our time and attention to support students in that regard. Or we're currently researching how we can best actually support particular needs of international students, because we recognize that's different for different populations. And in fact, we have been developing some employability focused skills and materials building them into our teachings. Something that will help you reflect about the skills that you learn and how you can actually translate them into becoming employable later on, right from the start of your degree. So it's not something that you just think about at the end, but you consistently reflect on your opportunities throughout your learning journey. Great, thanks. And here are some more technical details, shall we say, in terms of practicalities of, if the programs we've presented are of interest to you, it might be worth saying, how you apply and what the deadlines are. So the deadlines, we accept applications already. I think they are open. The applications for the MSc in Applied Linguistics close on July 7th for international students, and for the other two other degree programs on July 25th. Obviously, we encourage early application because, especially for international students, we realize it might take time to organize visa. I'm going to post in links to the websites as well in the chat, so you can see that. Oh, have I? Oh, it's just disappeared. I had it ready. Oh, there it is. There we go. So you can actually see the links on how to apply with the specific dates as well. For applied linguistics, there are a number of staggered deadlines. So the applications will be reviewed at regular intervals, and you'll get your notification quite soon. It will also tell you about all the admission requirements, including English language. So you get all the information then in terms of the admissions process. And as I said, we do encourage applications a bit earlier on. One of the key questions that we get is the availability of scholarships. And there are some scholarships available. In particular, there is a World Changes Glasgow scholarship that has been launched this year. It applies to students from a range of different countries, and Vietnam is one of those. So not everyone can get it. It is available to students from several countries. Again, I've posted that in the link there, so you can see what exactly that entails. And that is a discount in terms of the fee. I know some students ask whether there is possibility of gaining scholarships, perhaps that would support you in your living expenses as well. I must say there are very limited options there. I have also provided a link to a wider scholarship search, so you can see what other scholarships are available, whether it is through our university, but there are also links there to external organizations that may support you in that. So that's something that might be of interest to many of you. Okay, I think that's everything on the topic of deadlines. And I think yes, we're coming to an end, and I really want to make sure we still have time for questions for you as well. We wanted to leave, we have already had Locke, and we're very grateful for him to be here, but we've had feedback from a number of different students across different years. And I'm not going to read all the comments here, but you can see here that one of the students who was from India, who really valued the degree in terms of a wider life skill, really. So it's not just about kind of learning the skills, but it's about navigating your life and thinking about the creating freedom that the degree afforded them. We're really glad as well that students feel that it's a safe space. It is really a space to discuss. There are no stupid ideas. We really encourage students to come in and say what they think and start a discussion. This is something that we all really value in our classrooms as well. And it's great to see that this particular student has recognized this, because we're very proud in making sure that we let people talk and interact and trying to work out what they think and what their ideas are. So that's just one student, and if we have, that's still the student as well. Seeing the degree as developing skills, which I've mentioned already in the context of employability, is really important. And it's nice to see that the student particularly recognize the critical thinking skills, the reflection skills, organization, which you'll need a lot to manage different deadlines, a lot of work at many different stages of your degree. Especially, but that links to planning as well, academic reading and writing. So you can see all the different skills that actually feature in the degree that can be so helpful in so many career paths. And I think, yes, and here we have another student, also from Vietnam. And it's nice to see, again, some of the comments that resonate with the things we've started with. So thinking about linguistics as the theoretical knowledge to solve real world problems. And it's great to see that students recognize this, that we equip you with tools to analyze language in the world and around you, so you can actually try and affect change as well. It's great to see that people see this as something that can be applicable in the future career. And in this particular student, they were thinking particularly of entering a teaching profession, and I think that's exactly what's happened, but also perhaps pursuing a PhD in the future as well, which is also rooted that's possibly open. Maybe not for everyone, but we definitely train you to do this if that's something that you want to do. And this student as well talked about a life-changing experience, which I think is fair. And I said it before as well myself. I mean, when I did my master's study many years ago now, it was probably the best year of my life, and I felt that it was great because I met so many new people, and I really opened up intellectually. I learned so much because you have the time and space to explore this really in an environment that's quite nice, and that's something you really aim to replicate for your students, just to make sure that you do feel welcome and feel that your life can be transformed really. Yes, and this is something that, again, resonates with some of the students here, this particular student from Scotland, who recognized that empathetic and supportive environments that allowed also them to step out of the comfort zone. So it's not just about saying what you know, but also challenging yourself a little bit as well, which is, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it and everyone would get a degree. It's meant to be difficult, but we're here to help you, which is lovely to see that the student recognized this as well. And that's everything from us. Thank you. Angela, do you want to stop sharing and open up for questions then? Shall we do that?
Absolutely. I know that We only have a few minutes, unfortunately. Sorry that it's a little bit tight for time, but we're very happy to answer any questions that you might have. Laurie shared with us a long list of questions that you had put to him in advance, and I hope that we've actually answered most of those as we've gone along. There were questions, as Piotr says, about funding opportunities and questions about the requirements for entry, and Piotr has helpfully put all of the links to those. And also some questions around employability, which I think we've talked about in quite a bit of detail. But if there's anything else that we haven't covered, then please feel free to unmute yourself or put the question in the chat and we'll do our best to answer. Or maybe even if you have any further questions for Locke about the student experience.
And I've just put our email addresses in the chat as well. If you ever,
Thank you so
if you
much.
think of a question later on and you thought, I wish I'd asked this, you can always drop us an email and we'll be more than happy to answer. And any one of us will be happy to assist.
Definitely, we'd be very, very happy to answer. I think that's important. We're happy to talk to you personally. And even if you are seriously thinking of coming to Glasgow, if you want to arrange to have a Zoom meeting with one of us, we're very happy to arrange an individual Zoom meeting so we can talk about what interests you and what you want to know. You just write to any one of us and say you would like a Zoom meeting. We'd be very happy to do that.
Yeah. And something like that would be very informal. So I wouldn't want anyone to feel nervous about taking up that opportunity. I know a lot of students can feel a bit scared about having a one-on-one meeting with a member of staff, but we would really, really welcome it if anyone has anything further that they would like to talk about. Do just get in touch with us with those email addresses.
Yes. Can I say some word before we stop?
Please,
Yes.
go ahead.
So people, if you know me, you know that I don't often do the marketing and I never do that. So what I say is what really happened to me. And, you know, like most of students I talk with, they have two issues. First, financial issues, and second, their learning competence. And for financial issues, I don't think you should you should be worried about that because there are lots of scholarships and then there are work opportunities to work in Glasgow. So in my case, yeah, you know, like I have a very humble beginning, just like you, and then it happened to me. Also, you often think that you are not like good enough for Glasgow, but no, just apply for that. I mean, years ago, I was at the same school like you, studied the same major, and it happened to me, so it can happen to you. So don't worry.
To support that, Locke, some of the strongest students that we have had over the course of the last 6 years have been from Vietnam. Locke, of course, included, but in more recent years as well. We've seen our Vietnamese students have come to the postgraduate study ready to learn, ready to do that critical thinking, ready to take on the challenges of doing their independent research. And that's why, as I said before, we're so excited about having more students from your context. So we really hope to see a lot of you on these programs, maybe in 2025, 26, maybe in later years down the line, but we would be delighted to welcome you at Glasgow. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending today, and I hope it's been a useful session. Laurie, would you like to close?
Yeah, I think you've done everything for me, so I don't need to say much. Once again, thank you everyone for joining us today, and we really hope that you had a great time hearing about the insights and information and details about the programs, MSc programs offered by the University of Glasgow. And we really hope that you can make an informed decisions after today's info session. Thank you for joining us and hope to see you soon in the future.
Thank you so much, Laurie, for facilitating, and thank you so much, Locke, for your insights as well. Have a lovely evening, everyone. Bye. See you later.